John Wilford's 2008 newspaper article in the New York Times suggests that it could have been the memorial gravesite for a royal family. Radiocarbon dating all the way back to 3000 BC and up to 2500 BC of human remains have been found there. However, fewer remains have been found there that date back to the earlier years of 3000 BC, compared to many more being found dating to the more previous years of 2500 BC. This suggests that only one family was buried at Stonehenge due to the multiplication of offspring over the years. Symbols of authority have been found buried with the remains at Stonehenge, such as small statues, heads of statues, and other things. And this suggests that the family buried there could have been of royalty or higher rank. So in conclusion, I hope everybody's enjoyed learning a little bit about the possible reasons Stonehenge was created. Keep in mind I told you two theories of why Stonehenge was created, one being as an astronomical observatory and the other as an ancient burial ground. Although these two theories may shed some light on the historical side, the mystery of Stonehenge still remains. Thank you.
Take a moment to welcome our first judge, Dean Rice. Dean is a graduate of the University of Tennessee with a degree in speech communication. Dean currently serves as the Chief of Staff for Knox County Mayor Tim Burchett, a position he has had since Mayor Burchett came to office in 2011. Mr. Rice also serves as an adjunct faculty member in the School of Communication Studies. Dean is the former chair of the College of Communication and Information's Board of Visitors and is also a former member of the Chancellor's Associates. Mr. Rice previously served as a legislative and policy aide to Senator Fred Thompson and Congressman John J. Duncan Jr. Please help me welcome distinguished alumni, Dean Rice.
Our third speaker this evening is Natalie Blocker. Natalie is a freshman at UT, majoring in psychology, and she's from Nashville, Tennessee. Tonight she will be speaking about culture and honor killings against women in the Middle East. Please help me welcome Natalie Blocker.
In 2012, a 15-year-old girl in Pakistan was burned to death by acid by the hands of her own parents for looking at a boy on a motorcycle. This girl's death is not an isolated incident, unfortunately. I'm here to inform you all about 3 cultural causes for honor-based killings against women in the Middle East. An honor-based killing is a type of homicide that's characterized by when a family or individual kills a person for being a supposed dishonor to the family or individual. This is a cultural phenomenon seen in the Middle East where women are perceived as the lesser sex. Phyllis Chesler, in her 2010 article, Worldwide Trends in Honor Killings, reported that the average age for a woman to die of an honor killing is 23 years old. That is not that much older than most of us in this room right now. It is very easy to put ourselves in the perspective of these women that had their voices and lives stolen. I have researched this subject extensively as I've always been passionate about women's rights. 3 cultural causes for honor-based killings against women in the Middle East include emphasis on moral honor, sexual attitudes, and judicial leniency. To begin to understand what would drive someone to commit an honor killing, one must understand the role that honor plays and how it relates to Middle Eastern cultures. First, beginning with his article, Is Honor Killing a Muslim Phenomenon?, published in 2011, Rasuf Duggan explains that Middle Eastern cultures see honor as a tangible commodity that can be achieved and maintained. This emphasis on moral honor tends to be much higher in the Middle East compared to other regions of the world, especially for the males in that society. Secondly, in a mostly collective culture like the Middle East, an individual's honor is dependent on the group that they are associated with. Now, the most important group is seen as the family unit, and the family's honor is dependent on the actions displayed by the women of that family. A woman must comply with all the traditional roles that are set for women in the Middle East to be considered honorable. If she does not seem to uphold those traditions, then she is seen as a potential shame, which cannot be tolerated. Now that I've discussed the role that honor plays, I'm now going to move on to how sexual attitudes contribute to the execution of honor killings. There are strict, gender-specific attitudes towards sex that are upheld for both men and women in Middle Eastern cultures. So when a woman is seen as sexually deviant, an honor killing will be used to rid the family or individual of the female's shameful deed. Beginning with Patricia Rodriguez Mosquera, a professor of psychology at Wesleyan College, describes in her 2013 article that the emphasis on a woman's sexual purity was seen as more important in Middle Eastern countries compared to a male's sexual purity. This is because a woman's body and her virginity is seen as the embodiment of her family and husband's honor in the community. So essentially, her body is never truly her own. On the other hand, a male is taught that he must protect the sexual purity of his wife, usually by any means necessary, because when a husband marries, he now possesses his wife's body and what she does with it. Lastly, continuing on with Phyllis Chesler's findings, 57% of women killed by an honor killing in the Middle East were accused of some kind of sexual impropriety, or victims who have been raped, having an extramarital affair, or being seen as too promiscuous. To keep this in perspective, being too promiscuous could be simply talking to a person that your parents disapprove of. In 2/3 of these cases, a woman is killed by members of her own family, usually a father or a brother, if she is seen diverging from sexual norms. Unfortunately, a woman only has to be accused of these actions to be a victim of this type of crime. To continue on from how sexual attitudes contribute to honor killings, I would like to move on to how judicial leniency has effects on this crime. Judicial leniency has been a proven factor on how honor killings are seen under the law, but also in society. First, Anna Constanza-Baldry, an associate professor of social psychology at the Second University of Naples, describes in her 2013 article that Middle Eastern courts of law see criminals of this type of crime as victims of their circumstances, meaning that this person was put in a bad situation and had no other choice but to commit the crime that they did. Second, when a culprit is charged with an honor killing, their sentence is usually dropped to manslaughter. Manslaughter applies a lack of planning of the murder beforehand. However, Phyllis Chesler writes that half of the honor killings against women in the Middle East include some type of torture before the woman is killed. Now, torture typically is evidence of premeditation or planning of the murder beforehand. Essentially, there's a lack of justice in this case. An example of this is given by Sally Outbury in her 2014 article, Honor Crimes, Review and Proposed Definition, and she states that in Yemen, a person charged with an honor killing will get less than a year in prison and possibly a fine. This leniency in sentencing perpetuates this really toxic societal idea that victims of this type of crime did something wrong to deserve this type of punishment and left the murderers with no other choice but to do away with the victim for their own murderer's gain. In conclusion, 3 cultural reasons for honor-based killings against women in the Middle East are importance of maintaining moral honor, perceptions of sexuality, and leniency under the law. It's important to realize that today I have focused on 3 small aspects of an extremely complex issue in the Middle East. In reality, violence against women is happening in every country, in every culture, every day, all over the world. It's very important to not let stories like this 15-year-old in Pakistan to go unnoticed and to continue to fight for human rights for all. Thank you very much.
Our second commercial break this evening is brought to you by UT Athletics. Please help me in welcome Jimmy Delaney, Assistant Athletic Director for UT Athletics. We'll talk about some exciting ways we can support our UT Athletics program.
I'm going to get up here and sing the verse of Rocky Top. My man over here dropped a funky beat, and I don't think I can compete with that. I'm here to talk about 2 very important things. The balls and things that are free. Obviously, the most important thing to any one of our sport teams on campus here is the support of the student base. And you all have that opportunity to go to every single athletic event in the spring. That's baseball, that's softball, that's the spring game coming up, all for free. And not only that, you can sign up if you're not already signed up for the Student Rewards Program. Again, the theme there is free. It's free to sign up. You get points, you get more free stuff. We are in the business of giving out things for free. So, you come to athletic events, you support the balls, you get points, you get free. Fill in the blank. Thank you. You guys got double this stuff. again, this weekend obviously is the orange and white game. As everyone's seen, Coach Jones wants a huge crowd there. He's asking for 80,000. If anyone was at the practice this past Saturday, you saw him bust a groove. Coach Jones got out there and did his white man dance. Here's the deal. I think if we can get more than 80,000 there, we can convince him to dance again. Whether or not people want to see that or not, I don't know. But as students, again, it is hugely important to get out there to support the balls and the lady balls. The baseball team is in action right now. The softball team is in action right now. Baseball and softball both got events for the rest of the semester. It's free. If you're coming back next year, make sure you sign up for student rewards. Again, it's a free deal. If there's one thing that you walk away with, please know that student rewards is free. It's free. You get free gear, Adidas gear, free gift cards, free bags, free everything. I promise you that there's nothing that will cost you anything. If they try to charge you, tell them I said it's free. So, again, walk away with two very important things, the balls and thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Our fourth speaker this evening is John Luke Reagan. John Luke is a freshman at the University of Tennessee, majoring in marketing. John Luke is from Mumford, Tennessee, and he'll be speaking this evening about professional baseball in Japan and America. Please help me welcome John Luke.
Baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, Chevrolet. All of these things can be right to one common background. That is, the United States of America. When it comes to American sports, baseball is one of the most prevalent. And since it was originated here in the United States, we have a feeling that it's only our own. However, that is not always the case. It's important to know that Major League Baseball, or baseball in general, is in fact a globalized sport. Hi, my name is John Luke Reagan, and I'd like to share with you the differences between Major League Baseball here in the United States and Nippon League Baseball, which is in Japan. As a lifelong and die-hard St. Louis Cardinals fan, I grew up watching many baseball games and spending several weekends at Busch Stadium. This year, I was actually fortunate enough to go to the World Series. And folks, let me tell you something. Standing at Game 3 of the World Series, with the American flag waving, U.S. Air Force airplanes flying over, the national anthem being played on the field, and my dad standing beside me drinking a Budweiser beer is probably the most American thing I have ever done. While we as Americans can take pride in this Americanization of baseball, it's important that we have a global outlook on the game. This is important because we're having a growing need for diversity in today's society. This led me to wanting to tell you the three major differences between American baseball and Japanese baseball, which are the cultural differences, the actual baseball itself, and the umpires of the game. First and foremost, I'd like to tell you about the cultural differences. According to a University of Michigan report in 2009, there are several differences between Japanese and American baseball. For instance, here in America, it's every kid's dream to catch a foul ball at a Major League Baseball game. At least it was mine. But in Japan, it's very different. If you catch a ball, they will take the ball away from you and return it to the home team. I know that's not fair. Now here in America, we have agents that represent our Major League Baseball players. They often draw a large portion of the salary off of the players' contracts. This does not happen in Japan. The players completely negotiate their contracts themselves. While at a Major League Baseball game here, you might find hot dogs, cotton candy, beer, soda, peanuts, Cracker Jacks. While all of these things can be found at a Japanese baseball game, you will also find shots of whiskey and rice and curry. Along with the in-game cultural differences, baseball business is also different over here, in between here in the United States and Japan. A 2006 book called Baseball Without Borders revealed that while American baseball franchises are generally owned by wealthy tycoons, such as George W. Bush of the Texas Rangers, George Steinbrenner of the New York Yankees, and Augustus A. Bush of the St. Louis Cardinals, Japanese baseball franchises are generally large subsidies to corporations. Now I've told you about a little bit about the cultural differences, I'd like to tell you about the actual baseball itself. We have had a common MLB provider for many years, and that MLB provider is Rollins. They make a regulation-sized Major League Baseball. But according to the New York Times in 2011, the Japanese didn't actually start using a regulation baseball until that 2011 season. This meant that